Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Gachiakuta, Season 1.
Yep, Gachiakuta, Season 1, Episode 13. Welcome back to the Dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and, well, this is the only show that's continuing because it's 2 core, and everything else will be, I'm pretty sure everything else is 1 core. So, you know, it'll all wrap up at the beginning of next year, and it'll be great, and then we can start whatever the hell we start at the beginning of next year, which is all kinds of stuff. So schedule is going to remain jam-packed. So again, we had MHA, the final season, starting yesterday. We'll be doing campfire cooking tomorrow, and then One Punch Man, which is a major point of contention for a lot of people right now, so that'll be fun to talk about on Sundays, and Spy Family will take it down on Monday to end the week. But anyway, as for Gachiakuta, Amo's backstory.
We have one more core of Gachiakuta. Spy Family's confirmed 1 core. One Punch Man is not confirmed how many episodes it's going to be. MHA, I believe, is supposed to be 14.
Right. So we might have to do a thing, but that's fine. But either
I can't imagine that One Punch Man, with how low budget it seems to be, is going to be more than 1 core.
Yeah, based on everything, I really doubt it. Because once again, they haven't been working on it for 6 years. It's just been off for 6 years. They probably started like sometime last year, based on everything that I've read. So it's not like they've been working on it for 6 years, and just, you know, that's not how that works. So we'll talk about more of that on actual One Punch Man Day. But as for this, probably getting almost backstory here. We've talked about that for the last 2 episodes. Apparently, it's probably going to be a pretty messed up situation. Like I said, a lot of people compared it to like the Shao Tucker situation. But once again, going to have to be really, really madness to give Jonas Venture Sr. Any kind of run for his money. He is worst dad that I've ever come across. So either way, obviously Tucker is still horrendous. But, you know, like I said, I welcome anybody to look into whatever Jonas Venture Jr. or Sr. did. So pretty much.
Junior wasn't great either, but Senior is a whole nother level of fucked up.
Yep. So anyway, looking forward to however this plays out. You know, like everything we discussed last time, she's probably going to be the cleaner's problem now. They don't want her, you know, they wouldn't want her series item to be coming into contact with anybody else, that kind of thing. She would just end up killing people. So we'll just have to see what happens with her. You know, a couple other backstories that were alluded to during that whole sequence where they were being bound by, I'm not going to remember the characters' names because they just keep rapid firing them out with all the stuff we have going on. The thread guy, his
Tansley or something like that.
Yeah, something with a T, because we checked that you told me that his name started with a T, not a D or something like that. So,
yeah, it's like Tansly.
Yeah.
It's like Tansley or Tansly or something like that.
Yep. So one of these days I'll get the name straight, but with everything going on for me right now on top of all the recording we've been doing, yeah, fat chance. So I'm lucky I remember Rudo's name. So we'll get there. It'll be second nature at some point like the other series, but for now, I need to get a cheat sheet or something, just like have it right here. It's like, what? Okay. Just have like crude drawings of their faces. Just go full Markiplier and his kanji problems that he had in Silent Hill F. Gotta catch up on that too. But anyway, that being said, let's just go ahead and push some buttons and see what's up with this week. So people on Patreon, we'll get the timer stuff set up for you on the other side of the edit, and people on YouTube, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the discussion. So here goes something. Well, alrighty then. There you have it. Power outage and all for me. So I had like a freaking 15-20 minute hiatus for myself there because our grid went down for my entire town. I looked outside and it was just darkness. So I was like, well, okay then. That's cool. That's freaking fantastic. But you know, we're back, so that's good. But either way, train of thought kind of got punched in the middle of the Amo story there because for me, power went out right when they were struggling for the boots. So literally dead middle of her freaking story, and had to just kind of sit there and just like look around and then be like just moderately perturbed because It's not like there's a thunderstorm going on. It's not like inclement weather. Just, I assume somebody like ran into a. This is exactly why you need to put the lines underground, man. Just, you know what I mean? We just. That's a whole other discussion. But anyway, hopefully we can get this one done, bare minimum. But I did want to get the third one done. But either way, that's irrelevant to this situation. Again, we talked a little bit about it at the end of the reaction there. Human trafficking, sex slaves, all those kinds of things, especially with children, completely effed up. Horrendous, obviously. But we talked about how a lot of people were comparing this to some of the like worst like anime and fiction dads out there. You know, like a lot of people were saying, oh, they're giving, this guy is giving Shao Tucker a run for his money. Well, let's immediately say that no, this doesn't come close. Obviously, this is like the near epitome of what you can do from like a human non-powered standpoint. Like, you know, what Tucker does to his daughter and the dog, which is a death sentence. Amo can still potentially, you know, come out of this and that kind of thing. But again, mom total bitch, selling off the daughter. Yes, that's horrendous. The guy not being her biological father, you know, obviously still terrible human being, all that kind of thing. I'm not condoning any of this. But when you're comparing, what a lot of people are comparing, like, oh, he's giving Shao Tucker a run for his money. Maybe until Shao Tucker does exactly what he does. You know what I mean? Until Tucker pulls the trigger.
Well, like, apart from freaking Tucker killing his wife, he actually is a relatively like caring and normal dad.
Yeah.
Up until he gets pushed into the corner of like needing to recreate the Chimera and using his daughter.
Yeah. So in this case, we saw it, you know, the guy openly admits that he's a trafficker. He's like looked down upon by the other traffickers, which scum looking down on scum. Okay. But, you know, everybody has their place in what they're doing. And, you know, he was just using her to, you know. So, well.
The biggest thing there was just showing how much, like, he himself was fucked up. Mentally, because as Amma was kind of pointing out, the Watchmen series items apparently have a type, and it's people who are particularly fucked up in the head from one thing or another.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something we talked about that we looked into was these series items, this series, the Watchmen series, which is what Rudo and Amo have in the Gloves and Boots. At least these series items, potentially for all of them, they choose their wielder, and if they don't like you, there's rebound.
Yeah, I wasn't even trying to look it up. I just kind of stumbled into that information while I was looking something else up that I already knew. But yeah, it was already basic. All that was basically given in this episode anyway, and I would have probably inferred it the next episode anyway. But yeah, between last episode and this episode, it was confirmed for me that yeah, technically anyone can wield the Watchmen items, but if they don't choose you, then you suffer massive rebound for trying to force them to work for you.
Right.
And one of the main qualifications for them choosing you seems to be they only really like to choose people who have some sort of like massive trauma or mental break.
Yep. And obviously after everything she was going through with this guy, she's there. But again, for the human trafficking and sex slave side of it, she didn't look like she was being physically abused outside of the scenes that we saw, and potentially what he inferred to as you know, like what he had to teach her the lesson multiple times, but it's not like he was physically beating her probably every day. It was probably just, you know, she stepped out of line and he would do it and that would be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like there clearly was some form of physical like violence abuse that was going on there beyond just, you know, the sexual abuse. But the most of this was more just emotional abuse than anything.
Right.
Which is why I was saying that, like, comparatively, like, say to, like, once again, the Maiden Abyss Explorer chick had it way worse than Amo did.
Yeah.
She was also a child, and she was freaking put through way worse than Amma was.
Yeah. So again, not downplaying this horrendous situation, but when people compare something to Shao Tucker, it's a pretty big deal. And when you have to compare these two things side by side, in the realm of horrendous, despicable, terrible things, this is like a 3. You know what I mean? When you're talking about like terrible, horrendous things, you're already in the terrible, horrendous things category, so fine, whatever. But if you have to put numbers on it, this was pretty tame. You know what I mean? Because just, look into what Shao Tucker did. If anybody knows that, you know what he did. That's really high up there. That's like a 9 or a 10. And then you have the king of, Jonas Venture Sr., who's at a solid 11. So,
yeah.
But again, not condoning any of this, but I'm just talking about the fact that when people make those comparisons to like terrible parents, doesn't matter, dad, mother, whatever, that do something to their family, this was not her parent, which doesn't make it any better, obviously, but it definitely makes it worse when your own blood does something to you. You know what I mean? As opposed to a stranger. So we're already, again, in the realm of terrible, horrendous, despicable, unfathomable things. But, it's always worse when your family does it to you.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
It is also worth noting as well that while, yes, a lot of this was emotional abuse, and she ends up super mind broken as a result of it, she wasn't particularly there in the first place. From what we saw when she was with her mother, she was already pretty mind broken to begin with.
Right. She was already a little just weird, off, whatever you want to call it. So
she was showing signs of mood swings. She was having hallucinations. She was already pretty damn mentally damaged before this stuff even started happening to her.
Right. Which is probably one of the reasons what led her mother to sell her off. Whether it's to just for the money in general, but also not being able to cope with her child's condition, whatever it was. You know what I mean? Some sort of side effect from living on the ground, affected her mental capacity in whatever way, whatever it was, even if it wasn't just for the money, it could have been she just couldn't cope with, say, being a single mother dealing with a child that's that way. You know what I mean? We see those kinds of stories all the time, even in real life. So that's just one of those things. But horrendous backstory, obviously. And, it was what it was. We got it. And the reason why I brought up the stuff with these series items, because as Age mentioned, when the mask guy hands it to her and then she's able to use it, you know what I mean? That was it confirming it. We're just explaining it slightly further. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we even see the whole thing of the symbols that's starting to glow when she's holding it and stuff like that,
yeah.
It affirming that it's choosing her over him. So as far as I know from that little bit that I ended up reading, even if he took the boots back from her, they wouldn't have accepted him anymore.
Right. So we're just kind of clarifying stuff because this is what this is inferring to, if anybody's confused, what's the deal with this? Well, here you go. That's, just something that we found and makes sense and was pretty much confirmed in this episode with all the context clues, even if it's not putting it out in your face hey, the item chose her there or whatever. You know what I mean? That's exactly what's happening. So,
yeah, and then even the whole thing of the items having preference for broken individuals, Amo basically outright confirms that in her talk with Rudo later on.
Right. So either way, we got her whole backstory. That was what it was. We didn't really get anything on why she's able to exist up here without a mask. So,
well, once again, I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the structure itself. Because of the material it's made out of, it seems just none of the pollution makes it in here in the first place.
Right.
Because the guy didn't need to use the mask either, and she still seemed at least somewhat affected when she would leave.
Yeah.
I assume it's a thing of the reason why she even can leave without a mask is probably just related to the boot's power.
Right. So either way, we got more on the mask guy, the angel. potentially moving from the ground to the sphere and vice versa. Around the time that Rudo, made his descent. So they apparently, based on the time frame that was shown, Amo was looking pretty much the way she was, as she is now. So
yeah, we didn't get an exact time frame. It just said that many months later was when the angel came back. So less than a year, but quite some time after the angel showed up and she had her conflict with Mister, as she refers to him.
Yeah.
That is when the angel came back, and then the angel coming back was 1 month ago, which was about the same day that Rudo fell.
Which is the same day Regto dies and all the shit goes down. And
so presumably he went up there, he loitered around for a while doing something, killed Regto, and then left.
Right. But from what we saw, it was 2 of them. So whether it's
2 of them went up, but we only ever saw 1 up there.
Yeah. So it could be any myriad of things. The other guy killed the original guy and took the potential series item, that kind of thing. We'll just have to see. But as it stands right now, it's reasonable to assume that this masked guy is the same guy that killed Regto and redescended to the ground.
Yeah. As I said, I'm like 70% sure I know who it is. I don't know, however, if it is kind of a mess up on the dub side, or if it was something that happened in the original and was meant to be a thing to like kind of clue you in.
Right. So we'll just have to see how that's handled. But either way, a lot of information. They didn't do an ED, so that means probably they'll be starting the second core stuff next time. And anybody who knows Callie, Mori Calliope, the Hololive idol, she apparently does the OP for the second core, and she was super excited about it. So looking forward to that. Maybe they'll get their sound shit together, and I won't have to move the damn sound bar over and over again during an episode. That'd be fantastic. So either way, solid episode. Again, like where it's going. This has been really good so far for the first half, and looking forward to the second half, whatever might be going on. But again, this author, she is pumping out the stuff, the content. So I would assume that when this season wraps up, they'll probably be immediately no problem working on the next one. What I mean. So.
Do you want to talk about who I think it is, or do you want me to wait until there's potentially more evidence?
Yeah, you just talk about what you saw here, what the context clue was.
It's 2 things. 2 things, really. One, I'm not sure was intentional, and the other one is definitely intentional. Tamsi. While they heavily distort the voice, he has basically the same talking mannerisms as Tamsi.
Yeah.
And when Amo tells about the angels, everyone takes what she says at face value. He immediately jumps to, oh no, she's probably just delusional. I don't think that what anything she said has credibility.
Yep. And then Zamza kind of chimes in with yeah, probably, she's mind broken, whatever, and kind of agreed with him. So, yeah.
Until he says something, everyone's all just perfectly fine with taking what Amo says at face value. But he immediately jumps to, yeah, she's just crazy and probably doesn't know what she's saying.
Right. So, yeah. Similar mannerisms, immediate, trying to direct the suspicion away from him at all. Not that they suspect him at all, obviously. But
just trying to discredit the story in the first place.
Yeah.
And then, once again, I've been sus on Tamsi for a while now. I brought it up a couple of times, and that he seems to have some sort of a clear thing with Rudo. Which, if he is the angel, means they probably have some sort of actual past together. He either knows Regto or Rudo's father or something. He was observing Rudo while they were up in the sphere. something like that, because he seems to have some sort of... He's had some sort of very sus bone to pick with Rudo from the beginning, which initially I was just pegging as the Spherite situation, but definitely lends itself to the idea of him potentially being the angel if the other stuff is real.
Right. And again, look at his giver power. You could turn Thread into whatever you want. You just make wings and make it do whatever. He can control Thread and make it do whatever he wants. So why not wings that can fly? So.
Yeah, that's probably the weakest part of it, is we haven't seen anything about his power that directly confirms that he would be able to make something like the wings, or he would potentially have to have multiple giver powers.
Right.
Which we know isn't impossible. I mean, Rudo exists, but we haven't had any context so far of someone having multiple items or multiple powers to an item outside of like the minor like form changes and whatnot.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's all I got for this one. Once again, it was pretty serious backstory to take in, but once again, not really super comparable to the Shao Tucker stuff. But again, still horrendous situation that you don't want to see anybody go through, obviously. But if you have to compare horrendous things, they're just not on the same level, you know? So I think a lot of people are underselling the absolute absurd, horrendous nature of Shao Tucker and everything that he did compared to something like this. Was this Mr. Guy a terrible person? Absolutely. But he could have been so much worse, because we've seen it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, once again, the Maiden Abyss situation, exact same situation, but like 10 times worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, obviously, again, can't say it enough. Horrendous situation, not condoning any of it, not trying to say that Amo didn't go through horrendous things, but it could have been so much worse. So, and again, feel free to look into Jonas Venture Sr. You really want some messed up stuff. So...
I'm sure he'll get it right by the 40th time.
Yeah, by the 40th time he'll get it right. So, anyway, you got anything else, Age?
Not that I could say without going into the couple minor spoilers I do have.
Fair enough. So, really quick here at the end, we did get left on Jabber doing a thing. Potentially just... I assume he took the boots from her.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. Her being alive is up in the air, potentially. But, you know, she seems like a character that would come back based on all of this. Just, you know, plot armor in a way for this kind of character. But, you know, Jabber's boss probably wants the series items for whatever reason. But the one thing that I guess I will question was, did Amo have a thing, like a communication device before this, or did they give one to her and give them all her information? Give them all their information?
They gave her a choker. Like, she didn't have one before.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then
presumably her being freaking taken out here predates the chokers, because they seem like relatively recent things and only a few people have them.
Right. And then again, she recognizes him.
Yeah, she recognizes whoever shows up here. And then we see Jabber leaving afterwards, presumably with the boots.
Right.
So probably him, but it could also have been someone else that showed up here and took them from her in the first place.
Right. So there's still a couple questions there. But the Crunchyroll players already had it with me again, so we'll just leave it there. So, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging out here in the dojo for more anime night in the dojo. And this was Gachiakuta Season 1, Episode 13. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.